Views and opinions expressed in this production are those of the individual and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Shooters Nation or our sponsors. Information provided on this show is not a replacement for legal counsel or professional training. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows.
Welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast, the show created for you, the armed citizen. Join our hosts and subject matter experts as we talk about guns and gear, practical training and knowledge, Second Amendment issues, and the firearms culture. Be sure to join us after the show at shootersnation.com and become part of the Shooters Nation.
Welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast. I'm your host, David Yancey, coming to you from our studio in very soggy Nashville, Tennessee. God, I wish it would stop raining. And with me is my co-host extraordinaire, Mark Lancaster of Square Away Customs in the great state of New Hampshire. How's it going, Mark?
It is soggy New Hampshire, too.
Is it really?
It's been damp and cold here for days.
Yeah, it's.
And I've caught some sort of crud, if you couldn't tell by listening to me, everybody.
Well, you're just a little deeper than normal. So
yeah,
it's
going good here, but it's been like 50s and 60s and wet and rainy.
It is 59 degrees right now as we record this, just outside of Nashville, and it has been raining for the past 3 or 4 days. And I could use a break from it. I could absolutely.
Yeah, 42 here. See, this is the craziness, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? A month ago, I was complaining because it was
hot,
unbearably hot.
Really hot.
Like 100 at Elfod a few weeks ago.
Well, so when does it kind of turn the corner for you guys and start staying cooler?
October.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's 42 here now, so yeah,
it's not bad. So first snow late October or November?
Oh, no. So I remember when I was a kid getting snow around Halloween every once in a while, but that hasn't happened in a long time. I would say, and then there's some years like we don't even have snow on Christmas.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. But I would say mid-December is probably average for really starting to get some accumulation.
Gotcha.
Having it stick and not go away.
Yeah.
Probably get a couple snowstorms, flurries, stuff like that through November, but they don't last too long. Yeah,
I think that the New England Christmas is kind of the thing that I have in my mind of being perfect. It's supposed to have snow and just cold weather and all that fun stuff, but Tennessee weather is just stupid. I've been outside on Christmas Day in shorts and t-shirt.
Yeah.
It can just, it's all over the place. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's not. So
yeah, for the most part, we have snow on Christmas, but there has been times when we don't.
Yeah. How about, leaves changing and all that fun stuff? Has that begun to start?
First week of October is going to be about peak here, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
close up north at the cabin. We were up there last weekend. And you could start to see the change in color in the mountains.
Yeah.
So typically it's right around my birthday. So it's typically the first week of October, I think.
No doubt. So next week is your birthday?
Yeah, the 4th, 10-4.
Wow. Cool, man. All right. Well, happy early birthday. I don't think we will record before then. So that is fantastic. That is looking at the calendar. Okay. So that's next Thursday, a week from today. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Maybe we will talk to each other before then. We'll see. Yeah. Awesome. Well, now I think, I'm taking some time off from work tomorrow, and the wife and the kids and I are going to go just drive around. The leaves are not changing here yet, but we just kind of need to get out. We've had cabin fever because of all the rain and all that stuff. So, if I'm not driving to work in the rain or driving home from work in the rain, I'm sitting at work in the rain. And, it's supposed to be nice tomorrow and through the weekend. So going to try to get out and just kick around a little bit. So I got a question for you, man. We haven't talked about this lately. Are you reading or listening to anything good lately?
I've really been, because there's so many of them. And when I say so many, there's literally like 1,400 at this point.
Right.
But I've really in the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
So many really, really great personalities he has on that show that I've never even really heard of.
Yeah.
that do some pretty cool stuff. But that haven't really listened to any books lately. However, there was a couple that I wanted to get going on that my friend gave me a list of, and I misplaced it somewhere.
Yeah.
But no, just been podcasting a lot for what free time I do have. That's about it for now.
Yeah, I kind of finally worked through my list of podcast stuff on Overcast, which I try to listen to. I've got like a drive time playlist I listen to during the week driving to and from work, and worked through all of those. And I picked up a couple of others this past week, and the Gun Collective, Jocko Willink's podcast, Med Shed, the guys over at Odin Medical. And that's been kind of fun. It's interesting. I found a few bourbon related podcasts, and I thought, well, this will be interesting. I like bourbon. Let's talk about that. The most boring stuff I've ever listened to. I don't know. And I mean, there was one that was pretty exciting, but I think that we do a pretty good job here of trying to keep the audio quality good. This one sounded like three dudes standing around a tape recorder in their mom's basement, and I couldn't listen to it. I don't know. Maybe I should be more open-minded, but anyway, I think it's kind of cool. I've listened to some of the Rogan stuff lately, and that just seems like a neat life to live. I mean, hang out talking to those people all the time. It's just,
what's cool about it is he'll like be like scrolling through the internet and see something. He's like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I wonder who's like behind that. I want to get to know them, invite them on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's got the name recognition to do that.
World, right? He literally changes the world because it's the biggest podcast there is.
It is. It is top of the heap every week.
People talk about, like, he had this female on there, Valentine. She's a female spearfisher woman.
Okay.
She was on a couple weeks ago.
Very specific. Yeah.
Yeah. And she dives all over the world, tankless, and spearfishes.
Wow. Okay.
And then, and mostly survives on her catch.
Yeah.
She doesn't sell it. She just wants to be able to live in the islands and live in the saltwater type of thing, and bounce from spot to spot and just kind of do her thing.
Yeah.
And like her, I think she was saying something along the lines of I think she mentioned it during the podcast that she had like 20,000 followers.
Wow.
On Instagram. And now, and this happened within like 48 hours of listening to Rogan, she now has, for being on Rogan, she now has 173,000.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. Wow. That is insane. I
mean, so for these small time guys, I mean, he literally changes their life.
Yeah, he does.
On the show, and then it just explodes.
Yeah. And I guess it could be for the good or for the worse, right? Because somebody that goes on there and just can't back it up, because he's very well read and he studies quickly about whatever he's going to have, discussed on the show. And he's got a mind like a steel trap. So he'll recall things that were said and discussed previously. And
he absolutely holds people accountable if he disagrees. Yeah. He does not it's like, you're my guest, but you're wrong.
Right.
Like, that's not what happened. That's not how this works. That's not what's going on here. You
gotta bring your A game if you're going to talk to him.
But he's a smart dude. And
it's just fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, from politicians to dietitians to professional fighters, comedians, actors, actresses, spearfisher women, knife makers, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you never know what's going to be on that.
That would be neat to have that ability and that kind of draw, where if you were scrolling through social media and you saw something that piqued your interest, you could do exactly that. Reach out to whoever, the top, personalities are in that world and bring them on the show and learn more about it. That just sounds cool. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, we get to do a bit of that here.
Kind of cheddar doing it.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's the thing.
I can't even imagine how much money he makes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just from that. Like the studios.
Well, the day job gets in the way of a lot of things for both of us. So, yeah, I can't imagine having that kind of.
I mean, at the same time, he's got a lot going on too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's probably got a lot of people working.
Stand up. Yeah.
So I assume I know I've seen the videos from the Rogan podcast. He's got a crew there taking care of things. And
I thought you just had Jamie. Is it a whole crew?
Well, I've seen he's got some folks that do camera and stuff like that. He does have Jamie, running audio and stuff, but I've seen some folks in there filming and recording video. I know they've got some cameras set up in the thing, but yeah, it just looks really cool. To have that kind of have that life and have that be yourself. That's your self-sufficiency,
Yeah.
Like I was saying, the day job definitely gets in the way of some of the things I would rather be doing. So, that's pretty neat. Well, so, talking about podcasting and shows, obviously you guys are listening to the Shooters Nation podcast, and
I was gonna say we have a show to do here.
We have a show to do. But just a couple of weeks ago, we did our 6-month anniversary show and the listener mailbag. So just order of business there. By the time you folks are listening to this, it should be the last Sunday, the very last day of September. So it's Sunday the 30th. If you download and listen to it on day 1. October 1, we will be pulling a name out of the magic hat. We're going to go into the Shooters Nation Mail Blast mailing list. We're going to take the sum of everybody that's signed up for it. We're going to randomly pull one of those out using technology, so it really will be random, and that person will win the gift card from Squared Away Customs that Mark has provided, and we'll announce that on our social media outlets and reach out to that person, of course, by email and stuff. So looking forward to that, but that's coming up soon. But one of the other things that came up in the 6-month anniversary show was the listener mailbag, and this episode tonight is actually a result of a question that we didn't get around to answering because we had so many questions. Last week, of course, we had our friend Brad Jones on, and that seemed very timely, of course, with them dealing with the flooding and stuff from Hurricane Florence. So we postponed the show a week, but here we are, one more thing. So before we get into the question, I do want to read off a comment that we got in the listener mailbag, and this was pretty cool. So this is from one of our listeners, Salvatore, and Salvatore said, the recent episode on the Continuum of Force was excellent, and of course, he's talking about the one that we did with Mike Cicino. He went on to say that you guys did a great job breaking down the intent or the incident in Florida. Ultimately, I think the shooter may walk, and it's a complicated situation, but I certainly think that we need to hold such people accountable for instigating such incidents, and you guys did an excellent job of explaining that. We need to beat this drum to get armed citizens to understand that they have no business starting trouble, even if they ultimately get away with it. And that's the end of the quote from Sal. So yeah, I agree completely. First of all, thank you for the compliment on that. I'm glad that we did a good job of explaining it. I think that having Mike here to walk us through that was very instrumental. Mike's very well versed in the law and just to be very transparent. Mark, you and I had kicked this issue around in a private Facebook group where we have an attorney and several other law enforcement officers present. So, we stood on the shoulders of giants, if you will. But hey, thanks for the feedback on that. We appreciate it. And I agree. Getting good information out to the armed citizen so they make good, smart choices is very key, and that's one of the things we want to do here. So, any thoughts on that before we move forward? Mark? Or
I'm happy that A, we're getting the feedback, and B, people are liking it, right? So it's awesome. Absolutely.
Well, hey, if it keeps one person above ground or out of jail, then we've done a good thing. Right?
Absolutely.
So, all right. The next thing was question that we didn't get to in the listener mailbag, and that's actually the focus of this episode. And the question was simply this: can you guys talk about how you've got your AR-15 rifles set up? And so, Mark, we talked about this, and we thought it would be good to do an episode about outfitting your AR-15 for your own practical purposes, your own mission, if you will, and that's regardless of a civilian or law enforcement or whatever, right? So, and this is timely for you because you were saying just before the show that you're in the midst of doing a build.
I'm kind of always am. It's just like it's like if I have one hobby that I just absolutely love to do, and that's just build guns.
Mostly ARs, I guess, or
mostly ARs. Okay. I mean, ARs, Glocks, Polymer 80s. The thrill for me is in the build, and Corey in the shop. He'll sit there and watch me slave over one and meticulously, fanatically worry about each and every little part. And then I get it all put together. I rack the slide a few times, pull the trigger a few times. It goes in the safe, and I probably don't touch it again. And he just kind of like shakes his head
until the next one.
It's just like, geez. But the thrill's in the build for me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that that probably resonates with people that have a variety of different hobbies. I know we've talked before about, offline about our past in, various automotive things, right? So for me, when I had my Jeep and other vehicles, it was a lot about planning out the work, figuring out what the mods were going to be, and trying to root them in something practical, and then assembling it, putting it together, and then the ADD sets in. I'm like, well, God, I'm bored now. What's next? So yeah.
No, I've literally worried about every piece and part on a gun for, I don't know, 2 months.
Right.
And I get it all done. And I'm just like, I can literally feel the crash of like, oh my God, I can't wait to get this thing done. This thing is going to be so awesome. And I literally put in tighten the last torque screw or Allen screw or something like that. I shoulder the weapon, look through the sights, go click, rack it again, go click. And I can feel like
it's like Christmas morning's over.
Yeah. It's like,
yeah. I mean, think about it.
Stick it in the safe and walk away.
Yeah, the holidays. I love the holidays, and I guess it's the cold weather and all that stuff. I'm already starting to think about Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. They're all right around the corner, and it's all the big build up to Christmas Day, and there's all the fun and the excitement and the scheming and the planning and the buying and the hiding things and all the same stuff that most gun guys do. You scheme, you plan, you hide it from the from the wife or whatever, and then you put it together, and it's like, okay, well, time for the next one. So it's like, it's just like that. I know exactly what you mean, but I don't know. So let me ask you about your planning process before we start getting into some of the questions. How do you research most of it? I mean, go to the internet, or is it like magazines, firsthand experience with other people? What are you doing there?
YouTube, for the most part. And then just through different distributors and I'll see one and it just catches my eye. It's like, I don't have one like that yet.
Right.
Because there's so many iterations of this gun, and that's why we're able to make a podcast about it, right?
Yeah,
because I mean, I could literally talk about iterations of AR-15s for hours.
Yeah,
and still have plenty of material to work with. So it's I'll see one, I'll be like, well, I don't have one like that. There's something unique about it. Like I won't go too deep into it, but the very last one I did is I built a 20-inch gun.
Really?
Yeah.
On purpose. Okay.
With a non-adjustable buttstock.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
DMR style,
that has a very specific purpose then. Yeah.
Scope on it rather than a red dot. So, I'd made one before, and I made it, and I was like, this is awesome. And before I got to shoot it, a customer was here. And I was just showing them, they were talking to me about AR-15s. They were kind of green to it. And I showed him all of them, and he said he wanted to build one day. And then he saw that long gun that I had built. He's like, I really like that one.
Oh no.
I was like, that one's brand new. Like, I haven't even fired
that one's going to cost you, buddy.
Yeah. And he's like, yep, no, I want that.
Wow.
And it was like a $2,400 build. And he paid for it.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna let you walk with it because I just built it. I'm gonna go function check it. He's like, would you sight it in for me too? I mean, he was that green, So
you got to shoot it.
Yeah. So I went to the range. I did like 20 rounds through it, sighted it in, cleaned it, handed it over to him. And
that might be the best of both worlds, right? Because you got all the fun and excitement of researching and building and putting it together, and you actually got to shoot it, and you didn't have to pay for it. So.
Right. But what I do, it's a little bit different because I don't buy a lot of new parts because, frankly, for myself, I'm pretty cheap with stuff like that. I'd rather I scour the internet, whether it's Arms List or the Facebook groups for parts, and I scour the secondary market.
Okay.
Because on accessories and stuff like that, I mean, you can save 50% by going that route.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
and I buy things at cost, and I can still save 50%. You know what I mean? So you buy used stuff, and you just wait for it to be listed long enough, and you just wait, and you just like, dude, this has been up 3 weeks, and you just throw them a lowball offer, and often they'll take it. So I can build really great guns for really less money, and for the most part, AR parts, they don't really like wear out. If they look good, they pretty much are good. So. That's how I do it. So one of the downsides to that is like I scour and I do put all this time into finding and I build this $2,400 gun for $800 maybe sometimes, I get like that low.
Well, it's worth it's worth all that effort at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. But then just to sell it, it's like, oh, I did all that.
Yeah.
But then it's just profit. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, are there any parts that you absolutely want new, not used?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not really.
Yep,
I mean,
gotcha.
I don't buy cheap parts. I buy good parts.
Okay.
So pretty much anything I'm buying, if it's used and broken, it's probably warranted. Or if it's used and broken, I can see that it's broken. I just won't buy it. But I'm trying to think, and like, there's nothing that I'm like, no, I'd never buy one of these used.
Right. What about, have you ever purchased an entire assembled rifle for one or two parts on it that you knew you wanted? You know what I mean? Like somebody's got like a Franken rifle, but they've got a really good bolt carrier or something like that.
Actually, I just did that. I traded the Hudson. I traded the Hudson for a SIG M400 that was built.
No kidding.
And I wouldn't have done it just for a SIG M400, but it was loaded with a bunch of good parts.
Okay.
So that made the value totally worth it for me.
Yeah.
And I walked out definitely on top of that situation because I mean it's a $900 rifle and it had a Lantac bolt carrier group, it had a red dot optic, had a free flow handguard, had a SureFire muzzle device on it, had a Geissele trigger in it.
Oh wow!
So the trade deal ended up being greatly in my favor, and I didn't really give a crap about the SIG gun itself, just because I'm not a SIG guy. And I just think that's kind of overpriced. The AR market is in a really weird place right now, and things are not expensive.
No, they're not really, and it's a good time to pick up either some complete rifles if you think that you might want them ever, or your kids might want them as they grow up and things like that, or at least pick up some lower receivers and just stockpile them. That's hopefully that the laws don't change to the point that I mean there was talk back before during the Obama era that they might introduce new laws that you have to be an SOT to assemble an AR-15 out of parts, and that would be complete crap. And I hope that never happens, but right now you can at least go buy all the parts and put it together. So stockpile the parts. Yeah. So the SIG rifle, then I guess, are you going to leave that as a SIG rifle, or are you going to scavenge what you want out of it, build something different, and then put other parts back in it and part ways with that SIG?
I actually changed the parts that I didn't like on it.
Okay.
And upgraded them already.
Okay.
And
so now you got a rifle.
I never shot it and put it in the safe.
I'm not judging. That's fine.
I'm a really picky guy about weight.
Right. Yeah.
And especially not on like this 20-inch gun, because the freaking thing weighs a ton.
Yeah.
But like on a lot of like the more CQB style guns, I'm pretty picky about weight. And there's a few things that I like to have on all of my guns.
Right.
And like for instance, one thing, and I guess we don't really have much of a platform for this, how we're going to go about this conversation. So
I got some notes in here in the show notes. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them yet, but we're kind of like on track, really.
Yeah. But one of the things that I like to put on and I have it in almost every single one I've got, is a certain handguard that I just really like. I really like them because they're light. I really like them because they're strong. I really like them because they're comfortable. They're thin. They're great. And I have it on. I think I'm going through all my guns, all my ARs, and I think I have an iteration of it in every single one, with the exception of the Angstead, the UDP9, the AR9, just because that's only a 6-inch barrel, and I'm not sure because the handguard that I like is the Bravo Company KMR.
Okay. Yep. Very familiar. Been looking at that one actually.
It's about 1.5 inches. It's almost perfectly round.
Yeah. Pick
rail on top, and it is key mod. I know there's a lot of anti-key mod guys out there, but man, I've never ever had a problem with key mod, and I've pounded the snot out of some of my rifles.
Right.
And never had any problems. There's talk about them, parts falling off, and the key mod doesn't hold up, and I have a hard time getting stuff off of them sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know. Yeah.
And then there's the jokers out there that say it looks like Home Depot shelving, right?
Right.
It's kind of that keyhole. But I love the BCM KMR, and they actually just came out with M-Lock, but I have so many, like I have parts bins and I have so many accessories that are just key mod.
Right. Yeah.
So having, when you have as many ARs as I have, and you have all those accessories, it's nice to have the versatility to be like,
and you don't
I
want
wish
to
this
change
flashlight was on this.
platforms just because of that. Right. And that's exactly why I started looking at that rail or that handguard. Was everything that I've got is either pick rail or it's key mod. I don't have, the M-Lock stuff yet. And
yep.
I ask myself that same question. Is it worth it enough for me to go change the entire ecosystem of what's in my safe just because, the naval special warfare guys say we beat the hell out of the key mod and it failed. And I think that's the one that did the test on it, right? It was the Surface Warfare Center did their test, and they came back and said, well, here's the amount of weight that it fails at, pull, tension weight and all that other stuff. And key mods, the M-Lock survived it. And I was like, I'm never going to do that, I don't think. Yeah. So why does it matter to me? But no, yeah, I and besides that, man, I'm a sucker for Home Depot. We were talking about that before the show. Home Depot can take all my money.
One day I'll paint them, or I'll build one and do it like orange.
That would be great, man. Yeah, the Home Depot rifle. So
it'll probably be good for the gram.
Yeah, it'd be good for the gram. Do it all for the gram. Yeah. So all right, here's kind of what I'm thinking. Then we'll roll through this, and we do have some questions. And since the question from the listener was, can you guys talk about how you've got your AR-15 rifles set up? Let's start here, and I'll throw this question out to you, and then I'll maybe throw my thoughts in there too. But what about the practicality of a standard carbine linked 16-inch barrel rifle versus a short barrel rifle, or an SBR, and the AR pistol with a brace? Have you got any thoughts on that, or do you have anything? Does your collection span the gamut of that, or do you have like certain things out of that?
Yeah, so I have ARs with 6-inch barrels, and I have ARs with 20-inch barrels.
Okay.
I've got a 6, a 10, I think it's 10.5. My SBR is an 11.5.
Yeah.
I've got a couple 14.5s. I've got a few 16s, and the 20. So I'm everywhere in between. And each one, I guess, kind of like serves its own purpose. Like, oh, this will be good for this, and this will be good for that, and this will be good for this. And I think that the one that kind of does all of it, I can do, 200-yard shots, and I can do, like running it inside of a vehicle over a steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's probably my SBR.
Right.
And you can achieve that by doing a pistol brace. And I have an SOT, so I can do SBRs pretty easy. I just file a form and wait 3 days.
How's that? 3 days? Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
no tax stamp, nothing. Just file the form. It's 3 days. It's
that's depressing.
It's I see a lot of benefit in the pistol.
Yeah.
Because there's less restrictions, less red tape, no tax stamp, none of that crap. But also with the pistol, it can be loaded in a vehicle. It definitely serves a purpose.
Yeah.
And now with just today, I got the SB Tactical SBA3, which is the 6-position adjustable.
Yes.
I mean, it's a freaking stock. You know what I mean? Like it is legit like a stock. It's got the slot for your arm, but the slot for your arm is like 2.5 inch by 1 inch. Like no arm would fit in there.
Right. Yeah. I guess you spread it open and Velcro and all that other, stuff, but it's not.
Yeah. But like even my wife's arm wouldn't fit in this Velcro slot where the arm is supposed to go. Right. So I don't, I don't know how they got away with it, but they did.
Well, maybe it's a brace for children or something. I don't know. I mean, it's I have no idea. That probably is going to be a very unpopular statement with people. Wait, did he just say kids need AR-15s? Yes, I did. Every kid needs an AR-15. So, responsibly owned AR-15s with children is fine. But yeah, so I mean, I was thinking about it earlier too when I was really analyzing what our listener question was, and I thought, so carbine, no tax stamp. It's longer, it's heavier. Those are cons. The no tax stamp is a plus. Because it's longer and heavier, it's gonna be a little bit more unwieldy inside, like your house or inside of a vehicle yeah, something like that. And if you add a suppressor to the end of it, it just gets absurd because you can suddenly you got a 20+ inch rifle, and
Yep.
unless you're intending to do something, your build sounds like it was more like for precision long range, your 20-inch build. So that's fine, but for the average person, that might be a little bit unwieldy. Short barrel rifle, love it. Mine is a 10.5-inch, based off of an LMT Lewis Machine and Tool upper, with their barrel, and I think their quad rail on the front of it. So my short barrel rifle is very much circa 2007, I would say.
It's like the Mark 18 build.
It is very much a Mark 18 build. I completely patterned it after the Mark 18. So it has the LMT backup iron sight that doesn't fold. It looks like the rear section of a A4 or an M4 carry handle, with the carry handle part cut off and only the rear sight left there.
Yep, and the nut on the left.
And the nut on the left. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Has a fixed front sight tower, normal A2 style front sight tower, in front of the quad rail, and it's kind of heavy, but I'm running a Noveske KX3 Pig. The fire breathing pig brake on that. That's fun. I mean, it because of that, it cycles really well. That brake is absolutely perfect for, solving the undergassing, overgassing type problems of a short barrel. I ran an Aimpoint Comp M3 on that for a red dot forever and ever and ever, and decided I wanted something a little bit different because for whatever reason, that thing just wasn't working well for me. And I sold it and bought an EOTech, an OpMod 3. And, when EOTech started getting the bad press a few years ago because, oh my God, if you're out in the desert and it's 150 degrees, the adhesive used might melt and the optical shift and blah, blah, blah. I kept it. I have that optic on 2 of my ARs, and it's never caused me a problem, right? And those are not conditions that I'm going to subject it to, so I just left it alone. But yeah, I think that one is built on, I'm trying to remember whose lower that's built on. It may be built on a Spikes tactical lower, to be honest with you, because I think they had the cute three position colorized engravings for the fire selector on the side, even though it's not a 3-position rifle. It just kind of looked like it. But yeah, it's like I said, it's very circa 2007. It's a GWAT Global War of Terror, or Global War on Terror rifle, based off of the Mark 18. And it could use some sprucing up, more modern. And to your point on the AR pistol, no tax stamps. That's great. Take it anywhere that a state allows pistols, but still you need to pay attention to mag capacity laws. You mentioned that last episode, or maybe it was the one before, how stupid it is that now you can't travel over to, what is it, Vermont?
Vermont.
Yeah. And so that's
I think we actually talked about that before the show. We never got it actually.
Did we not get it on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stinks. Now you're having to pay attention to that because of the mag capacity restrictions.
Yeah. So for those of you that are not in the know, and you probably wouldn't be because it's, small town New Hampshire, small town Vermont stuff, because we're small little states. And I live right on the border of Vermont. So I cross back and forth throughout Vermont into New Hampshire, in and out. I mean, multiple times a day on average, probably.
Really? Yeah.
And Vermont, as of October 1, has now a magazine restriction. So for residents, if you owned your magazine prior to the ban, then you're good to go. But it's kind of silly because all you need to do is drive into New Hampshire, buy the mag, and go back. And who's to say you bought
it's the honor system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's an honor system.
Yeah.
But so I was just like, oh, that's stupid. Moving on. Well, come to find out, there was more in this law that you weren't hearing about by upset out-of-staters because it didn't affect them. But for me, as an by upset in Vermont residents, it didn't really affect them. But for me, as an out-of-stater, they now have a magazine restriction for out-of-state people visiting. So I cannot have high cap mags in the state as of October 1.
Is that like, I guess, a little bit of a tangent, but is that because they're afraid you would bootleg, like coming in out of state to bring high capacity mags?
I'm not sure the reasoning. Yeah. And I thought about that, and I'm not sure that that's their reasoning, and I would assume that that's their reasoning.
Right.
That, I'm rolling in with a truck full of mags and handing them out to Vermont residents,
Right.
when the bill was signed, I think Magpul, it was in the news that Magpul sent up a pallet of PMAGs.
Yeah,
to
the
just
airdrop.
give away at the rally.
Yeah.
It was like 1,000 PMAGs they were just handing out, and I'm sure that just fired up the lawmakers up there in Vermont that were
I love it,
voting for this and stuff. But so yeah, this is a real problem for me because my carry gun is a Glock 17, so I have 17 in the mag, 1 in the pipe, and then my backup mag, I carry a 17 round mag with a +4 extension.
You're extra prohibited. Yeah.
So my gun is now illegal in the state of Vermont, and this is my EDC gun.
Yeah. So what happens if you accidentally take a wrong turn on a back road and end up in Vermont and oh, by the way, you just get pulled over by, local constable. You're
doing it by accident. You're always in the know because you have to cross the Connecticut River to get.
Oh, is that right? Okay. So there's no accident.
It's a big river, a few hundred wide,
I'm
a few hundred yard wide
geographically
river to cross. Sorry. So,
yeah.
So doing it by accident isn't going to happen. But the thing about it is just like, it's significant because there's places we like to go eat in Vermont. There's places that things we like to go do in Vermont. When I drive up to my cabin, the interstate in New Hampshire and Vermont that goes north is through the state of Vermont.
Yeah.
So
So for you guys to head upstate to the cabin or whatever,
it's adding a half an hour to my commute because I got to take the 55 mile an hour road versus the 65 mile an hour road. So it's frustrating for me, but not to mention I do Mike Cicino's class in Northern Vermont. He comes up from South Carolina and does a class in Northern Vermont a couple times a year. I take his class almost every single. I didn't this year because of LFOD. It happened to be the same weekend.
Okay, yeah.
But so when I go to his carbine classes now, I can only run 10 round mags.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like in those classes, a lot of law enforcement take those classes. So I can either say screw it and just do it and put them in a sticky situation of knowing I'm out of stater with a 30 round mag,
right? Or
I can run 10 round mags in a carbine class, which is.
Could Mike loan you high standard cap? I don't want to call them high cap. I almost refuse.
Can't be in possession.
You can't be in possession of them. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So I reached out to, because sometimes there's these laws that, even cops aren't behind.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I reached out to a Vermont State Police officer friend of mine, and I was talking to him. I was like, is this law legit? And he's like, no, it's extremely legit and it's ridiculous. And he said that, they are absolutely pushing this. They're absolutely standing behind about it on every part of it and 100% planning on prosecuting.
No, that's just
it's
wrong.
Like unbelievable.
Yeah. That's
so
wrong.
It changes everything. So do I just start carrying my Glock 19 so I don't need to worry about it and go down to a 15 round mag on my hip? Because it's a 15 round pistol, 10 round rifle is the restriction. So,
yeah. Well, there you
tangent.
go. It's a worthy tangent because people, you need to be vigilant. If you're pro Second Amendment and you don't want to get screwed over by your government, you have to get ahead of this stuff and stay vocal and let your representatives know what you want and what you're not going to tolerate. And I'm sure that the gun owners in Vermont tried, but I wonder if they tried soon enough. And I don't want to Monday morning quarterback them, but anyway, it's regrettable. I hate that for everybody up there.
Well, the thing about it is Governor Scott is the one that signed the bill. And guess what? He's a Republican.
I was going to say Rhino. Yeah, that's terrible. Well, man, it's such a hard thing today also not to talk about the Kavanaugh hearings, but I don't want to go on a double tangent. Maybe we'll talk about that some other time. That was just, it's been frustrating. I know I've kind of just been yelling either across the house, to get
I don't think I've ever seen a man going for something as substantial as he's going for in the limelight and in the public be so dang wrapped up in this and emotional and believable.
Right.
As what I saw today.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and they're just, there's one side of the aisle that's just beating this guy all to pieces. And then you've got, you got the other side of the aisle that, there's been a few people. Lindsey Graham, was pretty happy about what he said today. And he really kind of took his colleagues and to task over it, but still, anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. I think it'd be fun,
if Lindsey Graham had been that tenacious when he was running for president, he probably would.
He'd probably be president. Yeah, he probably would be. You're exactly right.
Like what he had to say today was just
where was this guy before? Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I guess maybe there's a line. It's like when you start going at people's high school yearbooks and criticizing them for what other people wrote in them. That's when Lindsey Graham gets a spine.
Years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, all right. So back on the subject of AR-15 upgrades. So common AR-15 upgrades, and I guess we'll kind of roll through these. And I'm just gonna Q&A you, man, and where appropriate, I'll offer some my thoughts. But I'm just
go through them by like I was thinking we should go through them by priority, like what we think is like a priority. If you're going to do your first upgrade, what should it be, type of thing. Okay,
well, let's do that then. And I'll kind of cross them off of the list as we go. That way, if we miss anything, we can come back. So for you, what would be the first priority? And I guess, do we want to scope this with, let's take an imaginary 16-inch carbine that we just bought off of the wall. And so let me ask you that. If you had to buy one off the wall and that was going to be your starting point, you wanted the most number of good parts in it, what brand would you shop for personally?
Ooh, boy. So that's a tricky one because, as the listeners may or may not know, a big part of off-the-wall carbines are pretty much all made by the same groups of people with different logos on them. It all depends on really the price point. If you get up to like $1,000 gun, you can get a legit gun with unique parts in it. But I mean, if you're talking about buying a $350, $450 AR-15 or a $650 AR-15, I think you're going to be paying for whatever brand name is engraved on the side of the lower receiver.
I would agree with you there. Okay.
But talk about entry-level guns that are good for the money. I've seen and heard good results out of like the M&P line.
Yeah. I was going to say
the M&P-15
pretty good.
You may be able to pick up like a used SIG, an older used SIG.
Yeah.
And then we could go, there's lists of hundreds of companies that make a price point rifle in that range. I know guys that have great luck with the Palmetto guns.
Yeah. Palmetto. The only one that I've consistently heard bad things about, and I just kind of wonder how much of it is internet vitriol and how much is rooted in reality. But you hear bad things about Anderson. They call it the poverty pony. Because they got the horse on the side of it. I have no personal experience with that at all, but the Palmetto State Armory stuff I have had experience with, and it's actually not bad, for what you're paying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So, the philosophical, mythical 16-inch carbine, that we're just going to say that we chose a pretty good one. So in order of importance, where would you start upgrading?
Yeah, and I think that's probably important to kind of caveat this a little bit with basing the build, its purpose to be kind of like a round robin of uses, right?
Okay.
So
most versatile.
Defense, a little bit of like training, a little bit of defensive stuff, maybe in out and around vehicle, like if you're going to have one defensive AR-15, what would it be?
Yeah. So this would work well for a civilian or even a law enforcement officer, that was trying to kit out their patrol rifle, right? So okay.
I think a number one upgrade I would suggest is white light.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
In defensive, we've said it time and time again, information gathering device. I heard it somewhere, I think, I don't remember where, but that's, a really great. I mean, you say that a flashlight's an information gathering device, it makes you like, yep, that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly why I need it.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge proponent of white light, and I think that's super important.
And you're currently very much a fan still of the SureFire stuff under the guise of you get what you pay for, right?
You absolutely get what you pay for. They're leading lumen game. They have great customer service. They're not the cheapest light on the market. In fact, they may be the more expensive light on the market. But there's reasons why.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I'm a huge proponent of SureFire products for sure.
Yeah.
On my handguns and on my rifles.
I would agree with you on the light, and I cannot argue with the SureFire thing. I have had pretty good luck with Streamlight. I've just not. Honestly, I don't have I'm not gonna say that. I've got a couple of handheld lights that are SureFire, but definitely don't have any weapon mounted lights yet that are SureFire. But the Streamlight stuff, I would not go with anything other than those two brands. Really, I think they've both been pretty well proven.
I have when Streamlight came out with the HLX,
Yes.
which was that 1,000 lumen rifle light,
Yes.
I sold 5 SureFire Scouts that were, 3, 6, and 800 lumen lights, I think. I sold them all and bought all HLXs.
Okay.
Because I went for the lumens, and it was a dang bright light, and it was super reasonable. Every single one of them flickers under recoil.
Oh, does it really?
So
yeah, the HLX,
and this
right?
is the HLX.
Okay.
And this is a known issue. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's buzzing about it. Everybody kind of did the same thing. They jumped on the bandwagon, ran for the lumens, and everybody's having that flicker issue. So I pulled off all those lights. I think I may have 2 of them mounted still, and went back to SureFires. Yeah. So I hear that they've got it taken care of, but at this point, SureFire is got a 500 lumen brighter light. So the dual fuel Scout is 1,500 lumens, and I've bought that now, and I would have no reason to try another 1,000 lumen light when I can get a.
Gotcha. What's street price on that normally?
On the dual fuel?
Yeah. Any idea off the top of your head?
I think about $210 is what you can get them for. I know MSRP is $299.
Oh, wow.
But I think you can probably snag them for like $210.
Yeah.
And that comes with the rechargeable. Was it 14920? I forget what the number and size of the battery is. It's basically 2 123As in one stick. That's a rechargeable battery. Okay. So it comes with one of the rechargeable batteries, the rechargeable battery dock to dock it in with a cigarette lighter adapter.
Oh, well, you keep that in your patrol car if you're a patrolman, or keep it in your truck or your car, civilian, what have you. So, yeah. And
it also comes with the tape switch. So yeah, I mean, it's a really a great light for the money, but yeah, $210.
Bummer to hear that about the Streamlight HLX, because I just a few weeks ago I saw, and it's still, I just checked right now, Amazon has that for $106, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say about $100. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder, when you mentioned that about the light flickering during shots and stuff, I don't know if you noticed, I had the MMP here with the RMR on it and the Streamlight TLR7. And I clicked, pulled the trigger and it didn't do it. But on one of my guns, I don't know which one it is. And so I probably need to check and make sure I got the battery compartment tightened down on it, but it flickers. Yeah. I can break the trigger dry firing and you can watch it flicker. So maybe, I don't know. That's I'll have to check that later myself and see what's going on there. So, okay. Yeah. So white light, definitely agree with that. Where would you go next on a rifle?
Red dot optic.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's optics out there that are $50. There's optics out there that are 60, 70, 80, 90, so on and so forth. But a quality one is everything, because you'll get flickering. It won't hold up. It'll fall off. The glass fell out. I mean, I remember when we built Corey's first AR-15, we were kind of doing it on a budget, and we went with the Bushnell TRS-25.
Okay.
Which is about the size of an Aimpoint. It's about a 1-inch aperture, red dot inside. The brightness knob is on like a 45 on the top right.
Right.
It's about 2 inches long, so it's lightweight. It's heavy duty looking. I've had them on lots of 22s. I've had them on some ARs, but his first time he took his AR out and started running the gun. So we're talking about a $90 red dot. Started running the gun. He was shooting, and all the front lens just fell out of it.
You're kidding me.
I mean, just blink, the glass just fell out.
Well, that's game over for that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So a quality red dot. I think that you can talk about brands, and one brand that's really sticking out for somewhere in the $100 to $150 price point right now, and it's getting a lot of really great feedback, is Holosun.
Yes. Yeah, I've heard that.
A lot of big shooters are running them just because probably because they're being paid to.
But they're running them to see.
Running them and they're working.
Yeah, right? That's right. There's a difference. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a difference between running it, because you're paid to, and it falls apart, and you just keep quiet and don't tell everybody this. But some of the folks I've seen running it are folks that are not going to be quiet if the thing craps out. So,
Rob Pincus runs Holosun.
Yeah.
Which really surprised me. And he's like, these things are just $150 red dot, like consumer price $150. It's the same as an Aimpoint. I think it's got like a 70,000 hour battery.
Yeah.
So it's like you throw a battery in and it's like 5-6 years before you have to change it.
Yeah.
And it's a constant on, you turn it on, stay it on. And they're also big on like a dual fuel type of thing. So they run on, some of them run on battery and solar.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know about the solar thing. I guess I hadn't paid attention. So,
yep.
Yeah.
So, and they take the exact Aimpoint, this exact footprint is the Aimpoint Micro. So all of the quality mounts that you can get for the Aimpoint work on the Holosun. But it's kind of funny when you're spending $110 for a mount, $120 for the optic.
Yeah.
But a big part of an optic is how it's mounted on your gun.
That's right.
You know, and it's going to be robust enough to stay there, get run over by a Humvee, and still work.
Yeah, retain zero and things like that over time. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Holosun, and then a little bump up from that is Vortex. So Vortex AR, the SureFire, those are two really good optics for the $200 price point.
Right.
Vortex's warranty is like no other. You call them, tell them it's bad, give them a serial number, send them a box, they send you a new one. Like no questions asked. You don't need to be the original owner. It just needs to be a Vortex product. Period.
The only downside that we've talked about there is that it seems like Murphy's Law is a real pain because it never breaks when it breaks when you don't need it to, right? So when it breaks,
you get to a 2-day carbine class and 10 rounds in, your lens falls out. It's like, well, frick, warranty or not, this just ruined my weekend.
Yeah, at that price point, I'm almost kind of thinking that if you ran it on multiple rifles, it might be worth having a spare unit that you carried with you to classes and things.
Yeah,
because you could afford to, right? So hopefully.
And red dots, go a long way. Like a lot of my guns, I have Aimpoint Micros, which are the really tiny, little lightweight,
tiny little
super
dudes.
robust. Literally run them over with a Humvee, throw them against a brick wall, put it back on the gun, and it still maintains zero. Like those are the types of things that you get from an Aimpoint, or a heavy duty quality optic like that. I've literally seen what sold me on it is the guy was shooting at 25 yards and it was like a 2x6 backstop, like 2 4x4 uprights, and then 2x6s going across. It was about 3 feet wide. Yeah. He did like a 5-shot, not burst, but like just a 5-shot group. And he grouped in like an inch and he was rested. Just wanted to see what he could get. Takes the throw lever, the QD, like an American Defense or LaRue mount, takes it off. Yeah. And he literally threw it like a baseball.
Oh, no kidding.
And it smacked that wall. And I was just like, holy crap.
What? Okay.
He goes over, picks it up, puts it on the gun, puts it back on the rest, bang, 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 bang. And same group.
No kidding.
Like, well, that's the types of things that you get out of quality optics. And sight system, there's few things that are more important.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah. So I've got the EOTech on a couple of ARs. I've got a Trijicon MRO on another one. Actually, I got 2 MROs. I got an MRO on an AK and on an AR. And both my AR, the AR and the AK mount. Well, I take that back. The AR mount is American Defense Manufacturing, ADM, and then the one on the AK, which I guess we don't have to talk about AK stuff, but that is
what's an AK?
Yeah, right, exactly. So anyway, we'll talk about that for another show. But the MROs are holding up really well. It's an RS Regulate mount, I think. But anyway, and then I've got 2 Vortex red dots, one on a SIG MPX, which is also not an AR. And then I've got I've got 3 of the Vortex. Now that I think about it, I've got one on a shotgun, and that one I put it on there just kind of like almost the equivalent of throwing a sight at the backstop because I just wanted to abuse the heck out of it and see if it would hold up. And damn if that thing hasn't held zero, even riding on top of a Mossberg 980 SPX, I think is what the model is. It's the automatic one or semi-automatic. And it's not gentle. I mean, it just gets the crap beat out of it, and it's held zero, which cracks me up. So, but yeah, I'm with you. Definitely would spend on the optic next. Hey folks, David here. I want you to think about the handgun you carry for your own protection, and I really want you to think about the holster you carry it in. Do you have trouble concealing your handgun? Does it feel like no matter what you do or how you dress, it's painfully obvious to everyone that you're carrying concealed? Well, I want to take a moment to introduce you to Squared Away Customs. Squared Away Customs is a manufacturer of custom, high-quality holsters for both concealed carry and duty carry. They provide a catalog of holster designs to choose from, and they are glad to take on custom work to design something to meet your specific needs. Mark and his team take pride in providing an excellent product at a reasonable cost. They work hard to keep delivery times short, and their number one goal is to ensure that their customers are satisfied. Squared Away Customs also offers a heroes discount to military, police, emergency medical workers, and educators. And for listeners of the Shooters Nation podcast, Mark offers a reduced pricing if you use coupon code Shooters Nation. Again, that's Shooters Nation as the coupon code. So, before you strap that cheap floppy store-bought holster on again, head over to squaredawaycustoms.com and treat yourself and your carry gun to something more worthy of the challenge. It's not gentle. I mean, it just gets the crap beat out of it, and it's held 0, which cracks me up. So, but yeah, I'm with you. Definitely would spend on the optic next. I noticed that several folks out there are switching, and like I'm talking like tier 1 type guys are talking about the importance of variable magnification. You know, they're kind of switching to that, and I think that's something I'd like to go for. Yeah, I've
got a Vortex. I've got a few, but I've got like the PST.
Yep.
1 to 4 power, 30 millimeter tube.
Right.
Illuminated reticle. It's a great piece of glass. The only downfall is just something like that, and why I wouldn't recommend those on like more of a defensive, they're heavy. You're talking over a pound, by the time you get the mount and the optic on there. And yeah, you have some versatility, but for me in defensive situation, I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do if I need to require a 4 power scope in order to take out the bad guy.
Right. Yeah.
Was that like, what kind of threat do I have at 100 yards?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm using my gun in a defensive situation, I'm going to explain why I felt threatened.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that this is probably more for like the law enforcement officer, the patrol rifle, where he wants, 1 to 4 or 1 to 6 or something like that. That way, he can dial it all the way back to 1 power and use it as an RDS, but he can crank that sucker in. And rules of engagement for police officer are a little bit different. You see hostage shoots and things like that. So it makes sense. But yeah. Okay. So next up, what would you go spend your money on?
If you've done the optic, as much as I'm praising by a good one, so you don't have to worry about it, a backup set of iron sights is also important.
That's almost going to go hand in hand with your optic, most likely, right? So
yeah, I mean, so on an entry level gun at that price point, you probably don't have like a flip up sight,
right?
So flip up sights are good because it gets them out of the way of the optic.
Yep.
The cool thing about AR-15s, for those that you don't know, is that the sight systems are made so that when you flip them up and you have like a non-magnified red dot, and the red dot fails, you can look right through the dot and still see your sights. So you have one behind the dot, one in front of the dot. And it's called
especially if you've got the right base on the optic, so that you're getting either a full co-witness or a lower one
or a lower third.
Yeah.
So a backup set of sights is always great. Whether it's conditions, the mount breaks, mount falls off, red dot fails, glass falls out, who knows what, right? What if an iron sight is not going to, hopefully
it's not going to fail you. Yeah.
Right.
So what's your poison on those? I mean, I'm kind of a Magpul, MBUS or whatever they call them,
I have the MBUS Pros, which are the metal ones. Similar situation as they're a small flip up, but I do the MBUS Pros just because they're lighter, smaller, and they're made of steel, so they don't break.
Yep.
They're not plastic, but the standard MBUS flip ups, man, those are like the industry standard of quality flip up. Backup sights.
Well, you gotta be careful buying those things too. And I've got 2 sets of pros and 1 set of polymers, and the polymers on the MPX and the steels are on the 2, my short barrel, and then on my mid length AR, the 2 that are kind of like my go-to ARs. But yeah, you gotta be careful. Like if you pick that stuff up off eBay or whatever else, you're running a risk.
The airsoft version.
Yeah, getting the airsoft Trijicon knockoff stuff. It's better to buy through a reputable reseller like you guys are at Squared Away Customs or, Big Tex Outdoors or, Midway or whatever, right? I mean, even on Amazon, you got to be careful because sometimes I'm seeing that folks are getting the airsoft garbage. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
After sights and optics. I would say making sure if your gun is functioning well and you're not having problems with like double feeds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My next bit would be probably a trigger.
Okay. Interesting.
Getting a quality non-heavy, like, because some of those mil-spec triggers out of the wrapper for a $500 gun are just
they're
a challenge.
Yeah.
They're just super heavy, and granted, you're on a rifle and you have more points of contact, so a simple much easier aiming platform than on a pistol, but having a crisp, clean, reliable trigger is really fantastic.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of options for that.
Where are you heading with those? I mean, I know I think we're both thinking of the big name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Geissele. So
Geissele is probably without question one of the best, if not the best, most prominent brand on the market.
Yeah.
Once again, just like anything else, you pay for it.
Yes, you do.
But I also have 100%. And when I say 100%, is never failed, never been a problem, and was really easy. Was this one of the CMC flat face drop-ins?
Oh, really? Okay.
I think you can pick those up for like $140.
Yeah.
And then I have a pile of Elfman Tactical, and they are great. But man, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set screws just for adjustment.
Yeah.
If you don't have it tuned just right for your gun,
that's a little bit
problems. I ran into, I had one in my SBR, and I was just constantly, I would Loctite them and the set screws and the adjustment screws, and I was getting like light primer strikes, and it was just frustrating. So I yanked it out, threw in the Geissele, and then I saved it for another rifle. But the brake on them is phenomenal. The reset is amazing. They're all the ones I have are flat faced.
Yep.
They are really great feeling triggers, but you just need to have it tuned in just right to in my experience, to function perfectly.
Right.
And they're not cheap either. In fact, I think maybe even a little bit more than Geissele.
Yeah.
But they put a little bit more into it because it's a drop-in system with an aluminum chassis.
The ones that you said, the more expensive than Geissele, that's the Elfman, right? And then I'm familiar with the name. I've not had any time behind one of them, but I've definitely had plenty of time behind Geissele triggers. And man, sometimes it's hard to pull the trigger on that, pardon the pun, when you're sitting there staring at that thing in your shopping cart, and you're like, oh my God, this thing's, 200 plus, right? And so just watch for the deals, especially, we're kind of coming up on, it'll be Black Friday and that kind of stuff before you know it. And that's the time to pick up some gear. So, yeah. There's
actually a caveat to before the trigger of something else that's more important that I just totally overlooked. That's an ambi safety.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I have to shoot. I'm right-handed, but I have to shoot a rifle left-handed. And ambi safety is going to be right in there. Probably the first thing I put on a rifle because of that very reason.
Yeah. I did a carbine class at Cicino, and he had us running drills for a whole freaking day left-handed.
Oh, really? Out of a rifle? Or I guess both, or?
No, yeah. Well, it was on both, but like on the rifle is what was the stickler was for me because I didn't have an ambi safety in my gun. It was just like the part that I overlooked at before I went to the class. Like I don't need an ambi.
Yeah.
And man, like running that switch on and off all day on your non-dominant hand is a real pain in the butt if you don't have it on both sides.
Definitely would be. Yeah. It's kind of like one of the first things for me. And honestly, because of that, since I'm already going to be in the lower, I'll do the anti-rotational pins to keep pins from walking out. And that's it. So it's, ambi safety and anti-rotational pins kind of like hand in hand. But yeah.
Yep. After that, probably.
What about so where about the rail for you? Like if the gun came with, crappy plastic, M4 style, handguard or something like that.
So handguard was going to be my next, I think, suggestion.
Okay.
And for a couple of reasons. Mostly for real estate, for space. Like for me, like I'm a tall guy. I have a huge wingspan. I have super long arms. I get cramped up when I hold close in. We've talked about this before.
PDW
so
grip.
Being able to stick like a 13-inch handguard on a 16-inch gun is really great because I can get my non-trigger hand out forward, and I do a thumb over type of hold on an AR, and I can get my arm out there and kind of just feel a little bit more relaxed and kind of just drive my gun a little bit. There's that, but there's also, when you get into a handguard like that, you also, and this doesn't really have as much value for a defensive gun because, once again, you're probably not shooting at range to save your life. You're shooting close quarters, but it'll increase the accuracy of your rifle being a free floated barrel.
Yeah, especially if you're running a sling, and hopefully you are running a sling. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's one I often don't think about as being part of the gun, but it should be. And I would probably put sling way back there after light.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, almost like there's a couple of things, like if you were to categorize this as, again, thinking about like the days of planning out a car build or something like that. And I'm kind of going through that right now with my Forerunner. I'm kind of like categorizing, first priority, second priority, third priority kind of things. And so like sling, light, ambi safety, those would be like first priority. This is the first stuff you would want to buy, right? And then like kind of you go down from there. So yeah. And I get for anybody that's kind of wondering, scratching their head, why does that affect accuracy? If you're not running a free floated handguard on the front of it, and you've got a sling on there, and you're really using the sling to stabilize, you're putting tension against it, and ramming your elbow into that thing to really tighten it up. If it's not free floated, you're torquing the barrel. Yep. Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
And so the other part of the handguard, you have accuracy, you have real estate, but you also have flexibility of mounting accessories.
Yeah.
So whether it's sling mounts or flashlights or sight systems, or like you get your front sight, your backup iron sight, 8 inches further forward, you're increasing your I'm drawing a blank here. You're increasing your the distance between your rear sight and your front sight.
Right. Yeah. Your sight radius.
Right. Your sight radius. Yeah. Yep. Sorry. So you're going to be, kind of fine tuning that iron sight accuracy a little bit by getting them further apart.
Absolutely. You would.
Because your aperture just ends up getting.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was reading something before we got on to record tonight, and Frank Proctor, well-known trainer down in Alabama, I think he did like 18 years in the military, and the last 11 of those were in Delta or at least Special Forces. I may have just made the guy a Delta operator and didn't mean to. If he wasn't, my apologies. But anyway, I know he's kind of like a tier 1 guy, but he's very much on the record of talking about his methodology has changed over time. And back when he was overseas and in combat, it was a very, very much compact, pull the collapsible buttstock right up against the castle nut. Yeah. And like you said, kind of like the T-Rex arm, look like a little Tyrannosaurus Rex, where you got everything very compact and you're, kind of like a boxing stance. And he's gone away from that. And now he pulls the stock out all the way. And it's more about that length and leverage of using your arms and your body's mechanics, just like you're talking about, to get a good, comfortable grip on it and control it. So it's kind of funny how that's the PDW thing, the short barrel rifle PDW stuff was all the rage a few years ago, but now we're kind of coming full circle back to, it's kind of better to have it a little bit longer out for certain applications. So yeah, I think for the patrolman, that adjustable buttstock is very important for body armor and stuff like that, to adjust and get good cheek weld and alignment for sights and stuff. So that's definitely where it makes sense to have that collapsible stock. But
and you never, if my wife needs to grab the gun or I need to grab the gun, it's a very different position where we're both comfortable at. So adjustable buttstock is definitely right in there.
Yeah.
And another thing, let's not forget about magazines. Magazines are
So thank God most manufacturers these days are providing good mags. They're sending them out with PMAGs at least. And man, I don't know if you found anything better than PMAGs. I've just kind of that's where I'm at. Everything I've got like cases of PMAGs, because every time the politicians get squirrely, they start talking about mags. I'm like, yep, that's it. Order another case, right? Yeah. So I've got more mags, PMAGs I know what to do with. But what about you? I mean, PMAGs, Tapco mags, what are you thinking?
I've got everything probably.
Okay.
The majority is PMAG.
Yeah.
And they run awesome.
I mean, they just run. Yeah.
Yeah. I rarely had problems with PMAGs, and I've had some beat to crap PMAGs, but I've had hex mags.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them for a while, and then I started running suppressed and started having lots of problems. So
no
I don't
kidding.
know
Yeah.
if the hex mag's wearing out about the same time I got a suppressor, or if it's the heat and the dirt and the blowback and the gas that blows back into the rifle from the suppressor that caused them to start hiccuping.
Right.
But they're gone. I got rid of all of them. They're not in rotation at all. GI mags.
I've got some GI mags still.
I've got some GI mags that spent time in Afghanistan, Iraq that still run awesome.
Do you do the normal thing of pull a follower out and throw the anti-tilt Magpul followers in them, or what do you?
Nope, I've never taken apart a GI mag.
No kidding. Okay, yeah.
So maybe they have them in there, but I've never taken one.
I've got a couple that are like 1980s, 1990 GI mags that they're just the stamped steel followers and stuff, and they sound like a squeaky screen door when they cycle, but I've got a good number of those. I've got some Magpul followers in them. I had one hex mag, and I don't know what I've done with it. It's probably in the house somewhere. PMAGs. I've got a ton of PMAGs. I've heard I think, what is it, ETS maybe? I'm not sure.
The clear ones,
The clear ones, I've heard those are pretty good. I've not tried those yet either.
Yeah, another one that I have super awesome luck with, and I really like, especially now that I'm running suppress gun.
Yeah.
Is the Lancers.
Oh yeah.
I've got the hybrids that are basically a polymer mag with steel lips.
Right.
They're expensive. They're not cheap mags. They're probably the most expensive AR mag on the market. In that, I think they're like, I don't know, retails like $26 a piece or something.
All right. Yeah, you can get like 2 or 3 PMAGs for that.
Yeah. But being an FFL, I get pretty good deals on this kind of stuff. So I bought a pile of them to run when I was having problems with the hex mags, just out of curiosity if that, because one thing is the GI mags run great on my suppress guns. I was kind of thinking that it was the metal that was not having problems with all of the heat and the carbon and the gas from the suppressor. So these metal lips on these Lancers, and they just run smooth. They're great.
Thinking about suppressed and the issues of that with the short barrel build that I did, the Mark 18 clone, I did a gas buster charging handle, and it's got just the little extra lip back there right behind, right ahead of the latch, and it's just to keep blowback from coming right out the slot of the charging handle in your face,
Yeah.
But for me, again, shooting lefty, it's not going to be a first priority, type thing. Maybe a second priority. If the AR doesn't have an ambidextrous release charging handle, I'm gonna put one in there just because, again, cycling the gun as a lefty shooter. But beyond that, I don't get super religious over charging handles. Bravo Company, love those guys. They produce a ton of quality stuff. They confuse me sometimes when I'm looking at do I want the Mod 0, the Mod 1, the Mod, what charging handle do I really want? You just got to look at it, but variety is the spice of life, I guess. They've got a ton of charging handles. So, I was absolutely with Bravo Company with the medium. Oh, yeah.
Medium size latch for a long time. And then I switched. Now all of my guns have the Radian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what is that latch? I'm going to have to go head over to.
It's a ambidextrous latch. But they also have, it's weird on the long, like kind of the stem of the charging handle. They have reverse like serrations with holes. And the idea behind that is that it catches the gas blowing back out of the charging handle slot and it diverts it down into the lower receiver rather than into your face.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking. Okay, so it's Radian weapons. Oh, is it the Raptor? Is that the charging handle?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've seen these visually. I would have recognized it. For some reason, I just did not connect 2+2 when you said Radian. So I think they've just started producing some for the MPX, and it solves some of the wobbling that platform had. I don't know if the MCX has it, which is kind of sort of an AR platform, but anyway, these folks have been on my short list to trick out the MPX because of that problem. It's sometimes when you charge it, it wobbles and it gets stupid. It doesn't want to go back up in the upper receiver real easy. So anyway, slight deviation from AR-15 content there for you. But charging handle. Yeah, I'll have to give that a look. And they're not really all that expensive because I think I paid more for my gas buster. I'm looking online and I'm seeing them for like $76 to $80 for the Radian, depending on where you're at. So that's not bad. Man, I am completely chugging water. I'm sitting here like a fiend. I cannot drink enough water. Like tonight's beverage of choice is not bourbon at all.
Yeah.
I'm not. So anyway, just side note, tangent there. I cannot get enough water, but consequently, I'm also like hiccuping like crazy. So I have to keep muting so that I don't record that in the podcast. Yeah. So yeah, sure. It's water, buddy. I hear you hiccuping. So anyway, it's volunteer day for work.
Probably next.
Parched.
Because the standard bird cage works well
for the muzzle device.
The muzzle device,
okay.
I think it's a pretty good functional piece. But then once you get up to this point where you're like kind of your core upgrades are done, you can get some relief out of a quality muzzle device.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the you never find the best one type of situation though, because there's two things that you're going for. You're going for less of a flash signature because they shoot fireballs, some of them, or you're going for less movement of your gun. And then, for me, I don't go with necessarily either because I have suppressors. So all of my guns have Griffin armament muzzle devices. So they have brakes, they have comps, they have flash hiders, they have lots of different kinds. So I'm kind of stuck to that brand so that my suppressor can fit on my guns.
Yep.
But muzzle devices it's a whole episode, and there are whole episodes of this out there.
Yeah.
By other guys. There's a lot of really good comparison videos on muzzle devices. So just do a YouTube search and look up them. But like some of the top brands I'm thinking of, like SureFire.
Yeah.
Battle Comp.
I have a Battle Comp 1.0 on my mid-length rifle. That thing runs great.
But man, there's so many of them out there.
Manticore. I've got experience with the Manticore Night Break on one AR and also my AK, and that one does a surprisingly good job of flash signature as well as break. It doesn't like excel at either one of them, but it's kind of in the middle. That one does. Yeah. That one does okay. Seems like you talking about Griffin armament. So you're kind of it sounds like you favor their suppressors perhaps, and that's good to know. But you almost have to you almost have to figure out if you're going to run a suppressor, who you're going to run, and then look at their available brakes and muzzle devices, right? Because it's going to be very specific to your can. That's going to determine.
And Griffin, I know guys that work there.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I went there, is that I have like a really good and not because I got a deal on them, but because I knew I could ask questions and they would always be helpful when I was getting into the suppressor game.
I've heard they got some like really good support and warranty also. So
so I got my first one and then I just loved it. So then I got my second one and then my third one. And so far, all my suppressors are from them. And they've all been great, and really I'm enjoying them.
Very cool. Yeah. All right. Trying to think. For me, probably the stock on it's going to be in there somewhere around the same time as the Handguards. So if that's like a second level priority type thing, depending on what stock's already on the rifle, if it's already got a Magpul stock or something like that, I may leave it alone. But if it doesn't, I'm gonna I'll pull it off and I'll either run Magpul CTR or something like that, or I'll do like the Bravo Company SOP mod style stock. I like that one actually better because it has a different shape, more of a triangular shape cheek weld rest area, and it seems like I can get a better rest off of that for collapsible stuff. I still haven't built like a designated marksman rifle or a that kind of DMR, right? So it sounds like you might with a collection of rifles. What stocks are you favoring for your stuff, depending on purpose?
I use the Mission First Tactical Minimalist.
Okay, is that the one that's like got very little? Okay, yeah, okay, gotcha.
It's like the lightest stock on the market.
Okay, yeah.
And what I like about it is it's not perfectly flat. The bottom of it's curved.
Yep.
Because I like to, like in my ready position, I like putting that curve like in the pocket of your shoulder, and then it just rolls up nicely rather than just having that point sticking you in the shoulder.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like a more natural up down for me. It's ultra light. They're one of the cheapest ones to get. I think they're $30 or $40.
Oh wow, that's far cheaper than I would have thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And people joke around like Mission First Tactical is a Walmart brand, and I've got a Walmart brand stock on a gun that I've got over like $3,000 in. You know what I mean? But it's lightweight. It works.
Those are the same people that buy Yeti coolers instead of an Ozark tray.
It does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah,
and it does well. So
man, I'm not going to spend money like to chase a name if a cheaper product works better or just as good. I mean, I've done that in the past, and I'm over that. I would much rather spend the money where it makes sense. Kind of like for that first tier stuff, lights and so forth. And I'll put a Walmart stock on my rifle. That's whatever.
Yeah.
So,
so stock, and then you get into like you could do bulk carrier and the bulk carrier group, typically is going to run as long as you take care of it and keep it clean.
Yeah.
Clean it up every once in a while and keep it lubed up, keep it, take it all apart, check it all out, make sure it's good to go. I've never had catastrophic bulk carrier group failure.
I've always kind of gone for a good quality one like Bravo Company or something like that. Cause I know that they're like magnafluxing on making sure that they're not, there's no fractures or microfractures or anything. I think every single one of them I've got is quote unquote full auto rated, so it's got the cutout in the back, for a full auto, which doesn't matter to me. But they say it's a little bit more durable and so forth. So, but I'm with you. Like I don't have any that are MP3 coded or TIN coded, that kind of stuff. I get why people do it. I like you. I just don't.
Yeah, I have a land tack, which looks like it's basically like a dull chrome.
Yeah.
What is it? Rhodium? Is it rhodium plated? I forget what that's called, but it's nice because nothing sticks to it. It's like it's like a Teflon pan. You just wipe and the crap comes off.
Yeah.
And carbon buildup is a real thing, and it can be a real pain in the butt if you don't stay on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what. We'll move ahead, and I'll keep searching here while we're going because I'm trying to remember the name of the tool that I bought that I keep with my AR, and it's carbon tool and all that stuff. But we'll move on, and I'll mention it here in a minute. Slings, sling mountings. I think sling mountings 6.5 dozen. Your rail system's going to, or your handguard system's going to determine what type you have, whether it's a M-lock or key mod or a pick rail, that kind of stuff. But slings, I've got a bunch of Blue Force Gear Vickers tactical, Vickers combat tactical application slings or whatever they're called. I just like how the quick adjust thing works.
Yeah. That's another rabbit hole. Man, there's so many stinking slings out there and so many methods and training and thought and stuff like that. And I went from 2-point to single point, and now I'm back at 2-point. But I got the 2-point that I can transition into a single point.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of where I'm living now, and I have been for a year or two. And that's all my slings are Magpuls. They're pretty reasonable, and they have that QD that's in line, so you can detach your front handguard sling mount to the sling basically in front of your chest, which immediately turns your gun into a single point sling.
Right.
Because there's applications for both. I know it's a huge pain in the neck when you're at the range and you're you're a single point sling and you're like bending over to pick up targets. Your muzzle's going in the dirt or if you got a super hot gun that's bouncing around and burning your knees, or there's definite benefits to to single point, but then 2-point I kind of have some challenges too, because like where I like to run my mags, I've had kind of consistent issues of bringing my gun up and having it strip a mag out of a mag carrier.
Oh, no kidding. So the sling will grab it, or the rifle will?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The sling will grab it. And I've kind of adjusted that a little bit, so it's not as much of an issue, but I kind of live at the 2-point place. I like the stability of it. I like that you can cinch it up, stick it straight up on your chest, bend over. The gun kind of moves with you rather than just kind of dangling. You can throw it behind your back if whatever the case needs to be. You're helping a loved one get the gun out of the way, and so on and so forth, whatever it is. So there's definite benefits. I lean more 2-point than 1-point than single point rather. And, but the comfort of a single point with a bungee is really nice though.
Yeah.
That bungee to kind of absorb the weight, especially you're doing like a class, you're there for 2 days running a gun. The bungee on the single point's nice.
I don't think I have a single point sling in my inventory. I think I maybe have one that came with, I think it actually came with the SIG MPX, and I pulled it off and I replaced that one with a Magpul mission adaptable sling. And it's 2-point, but it's also kind of like that, where it's got a connection point or a buckle in the middle of it that has the sling QD socket on it. So if you pop the QD off the forearm, you can plug it into the socket halfway down the sling, and it turns it into a single point. I can see some advantage of that. I've always been kind of a 2-point sling guy. So yeah. I just found that tool I was trying to remember the name of. It's made by Real Avid. It's a carbon,
Real Avid. Yep.
Yeah, the Carbon Boss. That
Good
thing
stuff.
is great for cleaning the AR. So yeah, like
they've got a whole gamut of really cool, helpful tools for gun guys.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Yeah, that carbon scraper is phenomenal for cleaning the bolt carrier. Yeah, it's just phenomenal for that. So, but they do have a bunch of tools. I've got like their armorer's block, which is kind of a side thing, but for like pistol, like knocking the pins out of a Glock or an M&P or whatever. It's a good little armorer's block. So, man, so I'm trying to think what else. What about barrels, right? Because that seems like one of the things that people underestimate maybe why it's important or what kind of an impact it would have, but definitely for a longer range accuracy type thing. At what point in there do you decide that your AR's barrel needs to be upgraded? I guess if you're building from scratch, you're going to choose a good barrel from the outset.
Yep.
But if you've
that's another one I pick. I have a brand and I stick to it.
Oh yeah.
And that's Ballistic Advantage.
Okay.
Super affordable barrels, but really great. I've had awesome experience with them. And I think like literally other than the SIG, because it's only essentially factory built gun that I own, everything else I've built, every gun I have has a Ballistic Advantage barrel.
Okay. Yeah. I think I've got 3 that have Noveski barrels on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the short barrel's got the LMT upper with their barrel. So
Jason Demo actually, I think, is doing some media work for them now.
For Noveski?
Yeah, no, for Ballistic Advantage.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Now I'll have to check them out. So now I've got 2 lowers that need to be built. I wonder, do they have anything in 308? I guess I think so. Check. I can go look.
Yeah, no, they do. Actually, they do. Yep.
Yeah. It's like I just asked you to Google something for me.
6.5 Creedmoor. Yeah, no, 6.5 Creedmoor. They do a lot with 223 Wild, and they have this line called their Hansen barrels, which are really nice. They've just got a lot of really great products.
Yeah. I guess slight deviation. Talking about caliber, I mean, mostly is your stuff 5.56, or do you have anything running 223 Wild right now?
I have a few barrels that are 223 Wild.
Okay.
I mostly have 5.56. I have 2 300 blackouts. I don't have any 308s.
Yeah. I still have an AAC upper with, AC barrel and everything else. It's a 10.5, 300 blackout. And if I'd been smart, I would have bought 3 or 4 more of those before, Freedom Group or whoever it is, the parent company, Remington said, no, you can't do that. You must stick to making suppressors, and then, ruined it, because those were phenomenal uppers.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've got one of those. That's my 300, and I'll switch it off and on the short barrel occasionally, depending on what I'm doing with it. So
I still wish they had changed the name.
Well, of what?
Well, did you ever see that petition that was going around the internet a few years back, and they're attempting to rename 300 Blackout
to
300 Cosby?
Oh my gosh. No.
It was a real thing. Had like 120,000 signatures. It was so funny.
Wrong, but yeah, it's funny. I like it. The 300 Cosby.
Leave it to the gun community to
right,
come up with that.
Leave it to the gun community to have dark humor. I love it. That is fantastic. Maybe we could resurrect that whole petition. And yeah,
Remington wasn't biting on it though.
No. Remington taking the high road, disappointing gun owners everywhere as usual. Oh man. All right. So barrels. Yeah. I think that's kind of like at the point that I'm changing the barrel. I've done a lot of other mods. I don't know. From a scratch build. Yeah. I'm going to choose a good barrel, and that's why I've got some Noveski stuff in mind, but I will, I'll give Ballistic Advantage a look next time.
Super great guys. I met them because they reached out to me for holsters.
Oh, did they? Awesome.
Which was kind of cool.
Right.
And the first interaction we did, I sent him a couple holsters. He sent me a couple barrels.
Oh, wow.
And then ever since, I've just been buying their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm all in favor of supporting people that support people that I know and like. So there you go. All right. Man, I'm trying to think here. So handguards and rail systems. I think we kind of touched on that briefly earlier. Just kind of looking at the list, making sure that we've caught everything that I wanted to catch. Extended bolt releases, mag releases. No, that's just not something I've ever really gone into. Again, ambidextrous controls are it, and somehow I'm still perfectly able to run all the normal controls on an AR shooting left-handed, other than the safety selector level. So not there. The grip, and so that's kind of like that's your main interface with the gun, other than the trigger. I'm surprisingly not religious about that. I like the Magpul stuff, and I kind of stopped there. I take that back. I've got one of the Bravo company, the Mod Zeros, whatever, that's kind of like a PDW style. It's a lot more severe of an angle. And I run that on the short barrel just because, the short barrel stays, man, the buttstock on that thing stays collapsed right up against the castle nut. I'm circa 2007 with that rifle. I'm full on stupid where I had the Tyrannosaurus Rex, grip style on it. So, but yeah, the PDW style grip is kind of like where I'm at with that. What about you on grip? Do you really care, or is it just whatever?
I've got so there's lots of things that I'm, the handguards are all BCM KMRs. My barrels are all Ballistic Advantage. My stocks are all Mission First Tacticals.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that they're all different. I've got Magpuls, I've got BCMs, I've got not Lancer. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank.
I've got like
they made the cover. What's that?
I've got like a Stark, and I've got an Umbrella Corporation. Those two were kind of funny just because the names.
Oh man, the company that makes those like plastic rubbery Tango Down.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Tango Down. I've got Ergos. I've got a whole bunch. It's something that's not really important to me. And the funny thing is like the very basic stock M4 grip feels nice.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't. It doesn't feel bad. I was gonna say I've got one that's got that on there, and all I did was I took a soldering iron to it and I stippled it right just to rough it up a little bit. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't feel bad. So yeah, it's kind of funny though, because when you think about it, that's kind of where that literally is where the rubber meets the road with a gun. That's where your hand, that's your first interface with it. And surprisingly enough, the old GI A2 style, M4 grip is just fine. So, trying to think what else here. Just kind of narrowing down on the end of the episode. I don't want to miss anything because bipods and shooting platforms, man, that's just something I'm not really ever gotten into. The shooting platform stuff, like the gimbal thing where it's on a carbon fiber, tripod, that looks really interesting for long range shooting, but no application for me. None. Yeah.
I have a bipod on that 20-inch gun that I just finished building, just because it's very much of a marksman rifle versus a CQB rifle or a defensive gun. It's a more like just sit in a perch and see how far this gun will shoot type of gun. And it's freaking heavy, so the bipod it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
And it makes it heavier. But
the new Magpul bipod looks kind of cool. That one looks interesting. I might think about that for something. I don't know. Again, I don't. I don't know. How far of a distance does your local range go for rifle lanes? What's your
100 yards?
See, that's me too, right? I don't. We've got one nearby that has the 1,000-yard range and all that stuff, but no, I don't shoot there.
Yeah, Cheshire County, where Elfod was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a snake in a maze of just berm after berm after berm after berm. But like one day or like 2 days a month, they close everything down, and that you can shoot across the top of all of them.
Oh wow!
And get like an 800 or 900.
Okay. Yeah. Sadly, it's just not something I have any experience with on long range shooting. So if you've listened,
I got bit by a bug pretty hard last winter. Like my big winter project was building a Remington 700.
Okay, so I guess I saw you were asking about, is that going to be your deer rifle or?
Oh no! That was last winter. Was this Remington 700? Okay. This deer rifle that I was just building this week was I got the Ruger American at 300 Blackout 16-inch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And upgraded the bolt handle, a few other parts on it, put a bipod on it, spray painted it camo, put my muzzle device on it, put a suppressor on it, and then just got some really great ammo from Barnes. I did a lot of research on what the best is for whitetail, and up here, it's hunted a lot in my life, and I know very few people that have had a whitetail deer kill for longer than 100 yards.
Yeah.
And that's good because 300 Blackout after 100 yards starts dropping like a brick, especially the subsonics. And I don't think I'm going to go that route. I'm not interested in shooting a deer and wounding it, because the drop after 100 yards on a subsonic subsonic 300 Blackout is significant. But no, the Remington 700 build was a 4-36 power Bushnell Tactical Elite scope, 26-inch fluted barrel, Timney Calvin Elite trigger, HTS. I forget the stock.
Yeah.
Drawing a blank here. I'm tired, but upgraded the stock, box mag, upgraded a bolt. Pretty much did everything to that thing. And in all actuality, it should be a 1,000-yard gun. But I don't think I'm nearly the shooter that needs to make it that far. But we've got some friends up in northern Vermont that have 960 yards.
Okay.
And the goal was to get up there this summer and do some long range stuff. But man, just my summer just disappeared like that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's already this time of the year. Another episode we could talk about precision long range. I'd love to get somebody that's really an expert in that come on talk about it. And I keep wanting to build one. I've got a neighbor that's a lawyer in the firearms industry. I won't mention which company he works for, but he's got some pretty cool toys. And I've shot one of his that was built off of a Remy 700 308 with a Accuracy International chassis and all that stuff. And man, you talk about a sweet rifle. And, he runs suppressed, and I drool over that thing and would love to build one. And Magpul's got the new chassis that just came out. That
the Hunter,
yeah. And I who knows? Maybe one of these days I will. But anyway, so I guess this brings me to kind of like the final thing that we had on the list for AR-15 upgrades. And I intentionally didn't include it as a muzzle device for various reasons, but suppressors, right? How how far down the list of priority do you get when you start thinking about a suppressor, especially, and granted, your circumstance is a bit different as an SOT. You don't have to go through the weight and all the hoops and stuff. But as a just average Joe civilian that doesn't do that, how soon would you kind of, and does the wait time factor in how soon you would buy it?
Yeah, I mean, wait time, it's got to be a factor. I mean, I know I'm sitting on some right now because like my friend Robin bought one and it's been sitting here in my safe. And I think we're at 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Things just sitting here. It's just like it takes so freaking long and all that money and everything. So, but it's definitely a factor, especially using the gun and you got kids in the house or even for yourself, because I don't know how many listeners have ever accidentally forgot to put on their ears or been at the range
Right.
and somebody didn't clear it hot before they touched out around a 5.56 when you're in the vicinity.
Loud.
But it's pretty much the most unpleasant thing to your ears you could possibly
it's
imagine.
A very sharp report too.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And the HPA, the Hearing Protection Act's a real thing. You know what I mean? It's like the other thing is, like, you saw, like, there was a shooting at the Thurman Hitchcock Medical Center here. Guy walked in, took one shot his mother.
Oh, terrible.
Killed her in ICU for some reason.
Terrible.
And this guy was crazy. And I was watching the news and seeing all of the cops running in with their AR-15s and nobody had ears. And I'm just like, you realize, like, you're in a quarter of a hospital and you touch off one of those guns, like, this guy's going to be medically retired. You know what I mean? Like, you were going to have problems.
Yeah. His vocabulary is going to consist of the word "what" for the next.
Yep. What? Huh?
Yeah. Huh? Yeah. It's deafening.
So suppressor is a real thing. I mean, and even suppressed 5.56 is such a fast and hot round. It's still loud.
Yeah.
But it's not like painful loud.
Yeah. It's also louder a little bit further out in front of the shooter. That's kind of the noise ratings on suppressors. I tend to worry not as much about the noise at the muzzle, but also at the shooter's ear. I want to know what that, I care more about my hearing than I care about the guy next to me at the range, I guess, is kind of a terrible thing. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it all depends on where your priorities lie, I guess. Yeah. I mean, but defensive, I couldn't imagine touching off an AR with no ears in a house.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine that. It'd be loud. Yeah, if I'm shooting indoors at an indoor range and I know I'm going to be near people shooting ARs, or if I don't know who's going to be there and I assume that they're going to have ARs, man, I double up foamy earplugs and earmuffs, right? Because I mean, it's just indoors. That thing is kind of loud. I feel sorry for anybody that's next to me when I'm shooting the short barrel with the Noveski crank on the front. Man, that thing it's loud. I've had people ask before, is that a 308? It's like, nah, man, it just sounds that way because of that break. It's just it's a boom. It's not that sharp.
10-inch gun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a sharp report. It's a boom. So I made the mistake of shooting that under a tin roof enclosure at the outdoor range, and like all the dirt dauber nests and crap that were up in the rafters started falling down on me. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get out from underneath this. Lean out a little bit further and shoot. But I'm with you. Suppressors, I think. For me, if I knew that I wanted one that was going to be part of my build, I'd probably sink that money in real quick and just forget about it, because by the time you got to the bottom of your list, your tax stamp's coming back.
Well, you have to, because if not, you're just going to be depressed.
Yeah, very depressed.
Like, got a $1,000 bill sitting here and somebody's safe for a year.
Yep. Well, I was going to spend some time talking about ridiculous add-ons, and I don't know. I think we're kind of far into the episode, and I know you're tired, and I've had a long day. We did some volunteering at work, charitable volunteering for organizations, and went out and did manual labor. And I'm looking forward to some time in the rack. I just want to go sleep, but maybe we'll talk about ridiculous add-ons for ARs some other time, just to kind of laugh about it. But
yeah, I mean, we could actually do a segment on ridiculous things for the gun community in general.
That's true. Right? Yeah, there's a bunch of it out there. It'd be fun. Maybe get a couple of the guys together and do that. It'd be. I mean, just tell. Yeah, I know a couple of the usual suspects that we hang out with. It'd be like, hey, think of your most stupid gun thing and come ready to talk about it.
Yeah,
it'd be fun. And we won't do show notes, right? We won't share it ahead of time, because I think it'd be fun just to, real time.
Totally wing it.
real time pop that stuff on each other and see what we think. So yeah, that would be a bourbon kind of night for sure. So yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, I think we worked through a good list of outfitting your AR-15 for your particular mission, and I would say maybe that's the guidance that you should walk away from this episode with, is just think about your intended purpose for the AR. Like Mark, you've got several different rifles, and they're each designed for a specific thing, and if it's recreational shooting, or if it's home defense, or if it's your patrol rifle and you're out there on the streets taking care of business, keeping the rest of us safe, your mission is going to be different, and just spend some time doing the research and, pay once, buy once, cry once. Yeah. So it's going to be different for everybody. All right, everybody. Well, hey, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Mark, as always, how do folks connect with you after the show?
Yeah, you can always reach me via email, info@squaredawaycustoms.com. Don't forget to use, if you need any Kydex gear or Polymer gear, you can go to squaredawaycustoms.com and get use coupon code ShootersNation on any holsters you buy and save some cheddar.
Yep.
But another thing I definitely want to push is if you please, I know you always do too, David, but I'm thinking that's going to be pretty neat. But I'd really like to see if we can get some more people going with Patreon and start doing that kind of like hangout thing with listeners.
Yeah.
Where we all log in and we just have kind of like a roundtable discussion within just the Patreon members and us, and do the video thing like we're doing now.
Like to do that.
And I think it would be fun.
Yeah, the wife and I were talking about that just yesterday, I think maybe. We were kind of brainstorming how we could increase listener interaction, and I think that for Patreon members, I would be glad to do the YouTube live stream for them every single week, and they can, they can watch what happens in the kitchen, so to speak, with us and participate. Those videos might not ever get posted on YouTube for normal viewing. It might just be there only for the Patreon members. And then periodically, maybe once a month or something, we do a post-show hangout with them and just talk about whatever they want to talk about. I think it'd be fun. So I think let's make that happen for sure. So folks, you can always connect with me and Mark also at shootersnation.com. If you head over there, you can sign up for our Mail Blast mailing list. And by the time you listen to this, you will have just scant few hours to get your name in on the list for the October 1 drawing of the Squared Away Customs gift card. But we'll be drawing that early Monday morning, to be honest, Mark. It's not like I'm going to get up at midnight and do the cutoff. So I think fair to say that if you sneak a registration in on the mailing list on October 1 before 4 a.m., you're probably still safe. But anyway, and then while you're there, use the IDEA link and you can send us some feedback and that kind of stuff. Just tell us also what you want us to talk about on the show. This show was a direct result of listener feedback saying, I'd like to talk, like for you guys to talk about AR-15 stuff. So we did it, and we got some other stuff in the pipe too. And I know we got some guests coming up that might be premature to mention them, so I won't by name. But I'm pretty excited, pretty jazzed about who we got coming up soon. It's gonna be fun. Definitely getting some SMEs back on here to talk with us and help educate us and the listeners. So it's gonna be. I think we're gonna have an interesting run during the fall months. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing that I was thinking, like when I mentioned to you briefly, but I thought it would be cool to do a holiday shopping list type of thing. That's right. And that way you can send the podcast to your husbands or your wives and be like, this is maybe a good one for you to listen to. That would be fun. That'd actually be a very useful thing. And I know that Sandy, my wife, was asking the other day, when to do a ladies episode soon, and that might be fun to try to work one of those in during the next few months, and that'll start to plan that as well. So I'm excited about what's coming up for the remainder of the year for us, and it's going to be fun. And again, happy early birthday to you, man. That'll be Thanks. Thank you. Great next week. Hope you have a good one. All right, everybody. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Definitely, like I said, head over to shootersnation.com. Do all the things there. The Patreon if you want to support us. The idea link if you want to give us an idea or some feedback, and also the sign up for the mail blast mailing list. And again, we'll be using that for things like the Patreon member hangouts and stuff. So definitely go on the mailing list and support the show if you are so inclined. But I guess until next time, Mark, have a good week. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you as well.
Hope you get some rest. Hope you feel better. I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to go crawl into a coma, I guess, for the next few hours and remember why I don't do manual labor for work. So anyway, all right, everybody. Hope you have a good week and a safe one. Till we talk to you guys again. Be safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.
The preceding segment was a production of the Shooters Nation podcast. Visit us online at shootersnation.com.